Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be focusing on a couple of machines this evening, and the one thing that they've got in common is that they are both layouts by the designer Pook. Now, Monopoly Takeover on the left hand side here has just been released today. It's a new release as of the 22nd of March 2018. It's a fairly uninspiring low tech, if I'm honest with you, £70 jackpot low tech, but the real story here is I think the job that Pook has done on the layout itself. So we're going to have a little kick around at that. It's not the most exciting machine in the world, but I think it just shows us, how far DX layouts, these real appearance layouts have come, and also just highlight the amount of work that Pook has done on this, on redrawing it. On the right hand side is Doctor Who the Time Lord, the old BFM £6 jackpot AWP. That's more the focus of this video because I'm far more interested as in machines with these older ones, and this is one that I played an awful lot. The other great thing here is that Pook appears to be working through pretty much his entire back catalogue when it comes to re-releasing and updating to make sure that everything works properly in the latest version of the emulator, which, as it is at the moment, is MFME V6. So if we just have a quick look over at Desert Island Fruits, this is for Monopoly Takeover, and you can see there that the source artwork that he started with looks like a very, very grainy flyer there, and he's gone through several iterations. There's this poor chap, I think he's called Tony. He's from a UK fruit machine distributor, and he's charged with the unenviable task of sounding excited about the utter fucking shite that passes for fruit machines these days. The poor guy, I'm quite an admirer of him because he actually manages to sound excited about these things.
Those of you who don't know me, my name's Tony Glanville.
It is Tony, there we go, and he actually manages to I'm not sure I could do it. I think I'd just have to walk off the set and say, I'm sorry boys, I can't do this, we all know it's shite. But the point being, it's not a bad looking machine. It's got this nice kind of multicoloured bezel effect going on. I would watch this guy's videos because it's almost entertaining just watching him trying to kind of big up these dreary low techs with jackpots that are far too big for the AWP format. That's not really the point anyway. So as you can see here, Pook has gone through several iterations, work in progress, redraws, all that sort of thing. It's taken him a fair amount of time to do, and what we have ended up with at the end of all of this work, pretty much a complete redraw. You see how it's coming together there, and what we've ended up with, the released layout here, is this on the left hand side. So you saw the source artwork that he had available to him, and we've got a stunning, gorgeous DX here. I'm not quite sure how he's done this trickery with the multicoloured light, which appears to be implemented on the layout as well. I think Wizard himself has been involved as well with the testing on this. So it's not the best machine in the world. I put a few quid in it before. It's a fairly unexciting low tech, but it's a real labour of love there on the layout itself. And with Pook himself, I was just having a look. It just did occur to me. I was having a look back through my Fruit Machine emulation collection. Now, in the early days of Fruit Machine emulation, there were quite a lot of fairly, I don't want to say low quality, because that's not fair. I mean, people were working with what they had at the time. There was often very low quality source artwork. People were still getting used to all the various tools that they had available to them. But in truth, there were many DX layouts released in the early days of Fruit Machine emulation that, they wouldn't really pass muster today. That's not to say that, obviously everyone put effort into making these things and releasing them, so they were always appreciated. But sometimes they were frankly of a quality whereby you say, well, yeah, it's nice to have a vague look of the real machine, but I would often go back to playing the classic layout back in the day, simply because the DX was often, kind of unreadable. You couldn't see feature text, or you couldn't see what the lamps were. And back at that time, if you're going back to, remember, 2001 here, 800 by 600 monitors were kind of the norm. There was a bit of a fuss when people started designing layouts for 1024 by 768 monitors. So oftentimes you were actually better off, and I found myself going back to a classic layout because it was just easy. You could see everything that was going on. The underlying emulation was exactly the same, so I would feel more comfortable playing a classic because I could see what was going on. But very, very early on in the piece, I got into the habit of picking out Pook DXs almost as a category all by themselves. So you would have, in my FME collection, I would have the game name. I'd generally in a sort of, in fact, you can see the structure I'm going for there. It would be the Fruit Machine emulation folder, the version of the emulator, the technology, and then the game itself. And under there, I'd have Classic or DX. But very early on in the piece, Pook actually got his own category. I've just done a search on my Fruit Machine emulation collection here for Pook, and you can see there that was my signifier. It was your kind of mark of quality, as it were. If you knew you had a Pook DX for something, that would then become basically the definitive version for that machine. That would be the one that you would play, and generally speaking, whenever a Pook DX was released, it would then supersede all previous versions of the layout for that machine, and I would basically clear everything out. I'd copy over my RAM and GAM files if I put a lot of play through the machine, and then the Pook DX would become the definitive version for that layout. And that is something that is still very much the case now that we are in 2018. So I will put a few quid through this Monopoly Takeover. Let's just we'll give it a tenner. I mean, it's not really my style of machine, this, but there we are. And it's set to a rather generous, I think you can see that there, a slightly unrealistic 98%. But we'll give it, let's see if we can get on the board with a tenner, see what happens. And you can just press all. It's one of these, machines that have got autoplay, you have to really ask, if that's the level of player engagement that's involved, where you can just press an autoplay button and it will do it for itself. Now I'm not going to nudge in cherries for 2 quid, because that what we obviously want to here is to get onto the feature. So that's a tenner gone. So even on 98%, you saw how quickly this machine went through a tenner. I guess I could have had 2 quid, but I'm just gonna play for the feature. On a 98%, £70 jackpot AWP. I'm not going to take cherries again, so we can spin the dice there, which kind of gives you some sort of alleged kind of pre-bonus on the feature there. You can see that every time you spin the dice, it lands on a cash value, and it puts that into the cash pot for you. So I'm just going to spin the dice again there, and that means at least... Oh, it just took the cash pot off. I didn't actually know it could do that before you even got into the feature. My understanding of this was that at least you would get that as a minimum prize, because what happens is if you go to jail on the feature, you basically get whatever's in the cash pot. So the idea, I guess, of building up the cash pot before you go into the feature is that's kind of like your minimum prize. So there's nothing there. It's the dice. The dice is up there, okay. What do I get for free parking? Nothing. Well, that's not very exciting. So, can you see how much it's costing me just to get on the board here? I mean, can we get that dice in? There we are. So we'll have... As soon as I have a nudge for the feature available, I will take it. Okay, that's 30 quid now. So we're now going 35 quid in. And let's just see if I can get that dice to hopefully just... Okay, we'll hold it there. If I get a nudge, okay, we'll do that. I mean, this is quite something. So we're going to 40 quid in here on a £70 jackpot AWP. And we haven't even had a feature yet. Now, I'm not going to collect any win. I'm kind of holding out for the feature. So let's put another $5 in. So we're now... So now, as I understand it now, once I get onto the feature, which presumably is going to happen eventually, that then becomes my minimum prize. Because I think if you go to jail and lose, you get whatever's in the cash pot. So I think now that I'm building this cash pot up. I did have a little go on it before, and that was the way that... Right, okay, so we're on to the feature, and it has cost 47 quid, but I think now that my minimum prize of this is £34. So let's see what happens. Oh, chance. What's going to happen here? Don't send me straight to the advance to go. What do I get for that? 2 quid. Okay. And a double money as well. Maybe that's a £1 to go thing. So you'd kind of want a jackpot off this, really, wouldn't you? There we are. So 44 quid. But at any moment, I think if you go to jail, it's basically a collect prize. It's a forced... Oh, feck off. Right, okay. So what's going to happen? And that's it, you see. So there we are. And then do I get a... And there you are. So I've got a £47 collect prize on that. Not the... So we'll collect that. Did I... Well, I lost 3 quid. I lost 3 quid on at 98%. I've got to be honest, it's probably not a machine I'm going to play a huge amount, but I think it did perhaps deserve having some attention drawn to it because it was such a good redraw job, and I really loved the... Let's just wait for it to go into attract mode here, and we can see that gorgeous effect on the multiple lights here. And I do remember back in the day, I think Pook was one of the first people to actually put quad lamps at a time, as memory serves, when the version of the emulator that we had didn't officially support quad lamps. And it was on his Luxor DX, the old Barcrest £6 AWP. And he did some very, very clever trickery to get quad lamps, because if you remember, the corner lamps on Luxor could go any of 4 colours. In fact, why am I describing it when I can just pause this video? Let's fire up the layout and have a look at it. And very much case in point, you can see there that I've got Pook 1280 6 quid folder in there, which if we load it up will be his... That's going back a bit, that one. I'm not quite sure what year that goes back to. I've got it in my head. It's about 2004, something like that. Oh, hang on, we've still got the original README file, so 1st November 2003. So, and you can see there, resolution 1280 by 768, which was quite a controversial resolution for the time, because some people, you know, didn't have monitors that would go up to that resolution, and I don't think we had any resize back then either. So let's just port that down. I think, can we just see? In attract mode, we should see here, obviously we can resize now because we're in MFME v5.1 here, and we should be able to see the quad lamping thing that he had going on in the corners when attract mode decides to do it. It was really quite fancy at the time. There you are. So these corners can go any one of the colours that go on. Or is it just green, red and blue? I can't remember, but it was quite clever at the time. So, anyway, let's get over to Doctor Who here. This is a £6 jackpot BFM AWP from the days when fruit machines really were genuinely entertaining. Now, is this going in the Hall of Fame? I'm not sure it's necessarily going to find its way into the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure it's that good, but it's probably pretty close. Now, if there was anything on this machine, if there was any method, I don't know about it, so there's going to be no demonstration of any trickery here. That should go in. I think it only needs to hold once at the top there. So that should put me in. And now, what you wanted to land on here, certainly landing on the sonic screwdriver was good, because that protected you against the Daleks. If you landed on the Tardis, you would always collect the Tardis. And then once you got up to here, there was nothing really round here that I ever used to collect. If you landed on Warp and you were good, you could get a skill stop round, and I would always try and stop on... I'd aim for Tardis and Big Bang there. Big Bang was actually better than getting to the end of the trail, because Big Bang was like a £3 and £6 repeater, whereas the jackpot at the end was just a straight 6 quid. That might have me there, yeah. I have been exterminated by the Daleks. Not too happy about that. And this to me is just a very good example of a good old AWP where we've got sensible stakes and sensible prizes, and what we end up with is a machine that's playable, where you're always going to get a decent game off a few quid, and there's always some entertainment value going on. Oh, skill. Oh, okay. Well, I might actually try it. Oh, I could have had the bloody Tardis there. And the Tardis, make no mistake, that first Tardis there, you can land on it on your very first spin and get the super jackpot. And of course, that's something that's only made available when we have these sensible stakes and prizes. I think I'm probably going to get a 5 here. Ah, you bastard. We have been exterminated. It's a little bit, I think, like other machines of this era. You know, like Indiana Jones, where it just won't land on certain things if it isn't in a reasonable mood. And this is kind of the same, and it's doing it to me now, because it's avoiding the TARDIS, it's avoiding warp, it's landing on the, you know, the sub-jackpot features. And really, this for me was all about the Big Bang and the TARDIS. That they were the things that I would aim for on this. So let's get it back on the feature again. I mean, I have played this layout quite a bit, and I don't know. I've deliberately gone into it without knowing what state it's in. So I can't remember what happened the last time I played it, but I'm getting the vibe here. Oh, well, we've got to cancel it. I'm getting the vibe that it's not in a very good mood. So we'll have a sonic screwdriver off that, because that will defend me against landing on the Dalek square. There we go. So that's sort of an extra life. And it will get me. Oh, don't exterminate there. Shit. And now it can actually use this one to kill me as well, which would be really, really dirty. That is quite unacceptable, I think. And I think this machine is in quite a bad mood. So let's see if we can take it out to a jackpot. This was not one of my... In fact, I am thinking back now. I do remember taking some kickings on this. And I would be interested to know if there was something on it that I didn't know about. Okay, Davros Dash. It's kind of like a little skill stop thing there. I think you can take it up to 3 quid. Let's see if we can get past these. We have got past the Daleks, but... Can we spin an even? Of course we can't, so it isn't letting me have the jackpot. But the good thing about a £6 jackpot AWP is that it won't be too far away from unblocking it and letting you get that win. But thinking back, I did have some harsh experiences with this. I think I possibly preferred bar crests. More of a bar crest player on... As a clueless player, which is what I was in the £6 era, I felt that I had a little bit of a better chance on Barcrest than I did on BFMs. There we are. Let's see what that... Oh, there we are. So we've got a win. But I did like this. It has got the proper theme going on. They've got the license. They've got the music. They didn't seem to get any of the actual Doctor Who's themselves. I don't know if they didn't pay for the likeness of anyone. There we are. So if we can just avoid a 2 here. Oh, 5. See, now I actually wouldn't collect that because I would want... Oh, bollocks. Oh, that is really, really harsh, isn't it? We'll see it out for a Big Bang, and I mean the point of this video more than anything is not particularly this machine, because I don't think it would go into the Hall of Fame. I don't think it's a contender with something like Indiana Jones or Screenplay. I think it is a good old AWP, and it is one that I fire up from time to time. But the point of this video really is more a little bit giving a shout out for this layout that Pook has just released, which absolutely looks the business, and also the fact that he is taking the time now. There we are. We'll take the TARDIS to go through his back catalogue and update them for MFME V6. So you know that everything's going to work right, because there can be some little curiosities or little niggles between emulator versions over the years. And what Pook is doing with everyone that he re-releases, he's making sure that everything works properly in the latest version of the emulator. Now, what do I... Obviously, I want Super Jackpot. My least favourite would be CASHPOT. Okay, there was a jackpot, but it's not a repeater. That's that nice little blast of Doctor Who music. Isn't a repeater. That's the only problem with that. Obviously, you would want to have the Super Jackpot, which absolutely can repeat as well. So we'll have another board off it. I will take it out for another board and see what happens. And I will be going through the layouts that Pook has re-released and picking out a couple of those to do a video on, because there are some great old machines in there, and because he's been re-releasing them, they all work perfectly in MFME V6. So what have we got there? One nudge. I think that was just like a mercy jackpot, really, wasn't it? Which you can get when the jackpot's only £6, even on a machine that's in a bit of an arsey mood, which frankly I think this is. It can always lob a jackpot at you. That should go in. It's only one hold on 6 and it will go in. Oh, there we are, and that's what I'm talking about. So you can always get first spin on the board. Let's have I've got a... Yeah, you know what? Somehow I've got a CASHPOT vibe about this. Let's see. I could be completely wrong. No winning streak. Okay, there we are. So this can be like £2.60. If it's okay, that's 280. It could stop there. No, it's gone on. Okay, 380. So okay, so we're kind of up to the jackpot value. Compare and contrast. If you look at, say, the Swing My Axe, there's a couple of videos up on the channel now of Swing My Axe. You know how miserably far away you can be from ever getting close to the jackpot on most of the features, because the jackpot's so big. The jackpot is so ridiculously big when you've got a £100 jackpot that does not belong on an AWP. So unless you're prepared to force it, however much that may cost, which can be a fair chunk of cash, or you've got a trick, really you're never going to see anything above, you know, like £5-10, anything like that. Whereas when we had these smaller jackpots, and you could size this up for modern machines, maybe £15-20 would feel about right in the modern era, something like that. But you can make things far more accessible at all times, which is just not possible on modern fruit machines at all, which is partly why they're so dreary to play. I've got a slight feeling that I could be getting a 2 here, but we'll press on. Oh dear. So this is... it's got 4 written all over it, this, hasn't it? Yeah, there we go. And a little exterminate. I would have liked to have got Big Bang, because that was my favourite repeater on this. What have we got there? Nothing. Can you hold K9 back in? I should know that. No, you can't hold K9 back in. Okay. So we only need one. I'll put a token in, because if it holds, right, that goes in now. It only needs to hold once at 6, and it will put me in. And let's see. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, we'll have a Tardis. You would always collect the Tardis. CASHPOT. Now, that is a repeat chance. So that's £3 plus repeat chance. So we'll put a credit in there. Any chance for yes, good, a repeat. £3 repeat, and of course, that would be cash as well. That's £6 cash. So I've not actually done too bad. The reserve CASHPOT has gone in there. So I think I've got most of my money back there. So there you go. I have lost 2 or 3 quid, I think. Let's see what it adds up to. There we go. 18, so £21.20 in, £17.40 out. Not a dreadful result. It's a good machine. Playing it there, I don't think it is, you know, kind of Hall of Fame material, but it's a good, solid AWP. It's entertaining to play. It's one that I do fire up from time to time. And thank you to Pook for giving this, as long with many other of his machines, an update for MFME V6. Monopoly Takeover was just released today, so if you want a really good looking machine And if you've got a nice big screen, I'm running it in windowed mode here, but if you can go sort of full screen max on a nice big monitor in a darkened room, this layout here really is quite a thing of beauty. I would also recommend to you, if you're not already over at Desert Island Fruit and you like your Fruit Machine emulation, I would very much recommend it. Excellent now, which is where Pook releases all his layouts, he's got his work in progress and all that sort of thing. He's now got his own sub-forum at Desert Island Fruits, which has kind of supplanted his actual website. Desert Island Fruits in itself now, for me, is very much turning into, if it's not there already, pretty much the premier Fruit Machine emulation forums. This layout and RAM GAM files subforum here is where I'm putting all the stuff that I'm doing on the channel, so rare ROM sets or downloads where I've, say, maxed out all the CASHPOTs on a DOND or something like that. Other people are contributing there as well with their own, you know, machines that certainly on club machines where you've got to fill the CASHPOT up that can take thousands upon thousands of pounds through. You can find those on there. I had some questions about Super Multi-Nudge. People were asking comments on that video that they were downloading the layout from Fruit Emu and then finding it wasn't working on the version of the emulator that they've got, that kind of thing. What you've got there is a version of the layout which has been updated to an FML file, and that will run in MFME v6. But generally speaking, Desert Island Fruits is probably the place that you want to be for Fruit Machine emulation at this moment. It's running some really nice software as well. It's some of the friendliest forum software I've used, so I would recommend that to you. So there you go. Not particularly a machine-y based one for this video, but we've got Monopoly Takeover there just been released, which is a superb looking layout, and Doctor Who there, which is a nice old machine. I will be doing a proper video on one of Pook's re-releases where I'm just talking about the machine in due course. But that, I think, will wrap it up for this one. Hope you have enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time.